Okay, so guys, hi, welcome to the channel. So the essence of this channel is just to give insights that we have gained through our experience in betting or placing bets on football matches, or for all of you in the United States, that's soccer. And one of the markets that we actually take a lot of advantage on is when it comes to over 1.5 goals, because the probabilities for that specific market are just 50-50, which gives us better chances as opposed to other markets, maybe three-way, where you have either home win, draw, or away win. Now, the advantage or the reason why we have a preference to over 1.5 is because it just takes a goal on each side of the match for you to be able to achieve or win that market. So now, how do you go about identifying a game that has potential for over 1.5? Now, so we use two tools mainly. So the first one is Flash Score. So the reason why we use Flash Score, or the two reasons why we use Flash Score, number one, it's free. Number two, it has good process data, so historical data, because every methodology that is used, or algorithm or strategy that is used when it comes to football, is all based on statistical data. And the more accurate data that you can find, or statistical data, or historical data, sorry, that you can find, the more advantageous you are in trying to figure out that pattern, because it's all about a pattern. There is no definitive way or sure way of saying that you're going to predict a certain market, but you can have up to an 80 or 90% success rate in identifying games that fit the market that you prefer. So one of our preferred markets is over 1.5. So if you look at over 1.5, what are you going to be looking at in a match? So these are games that are being played today. So today is the 25th of July 2019, and one of the matches that is being played, and this is on the Europa League. So that's the UEFA Europa League that is currently ongoing. One of the matches that is to be played today is Torino, which is an Italian Serie A team, versus Debrecen. Hope I'm saying that right, which is a Hungarian team. Now, a couple of the reasons why we chose this match and why I'm using this match just as an example is, number one, there are a couple of strategies that you can use when it comes to over 1.5 or sporting games over 1.5. So number one is look for a team that is extremely strong that plays with a weak team. So logic just dictates that if you have an extremely strong team like for example Man City, and they play somebody like Huddersfield or Fulham, there's a high chance that they will be able to take advantage of opportunities and score a couple of goals. And the number of goals that we need for us to be able to have some success is just 2 goals, because we're using the over 1.5 market. So let's go into now Flash Score. The beauty about it enables it. You're able to see historical data when it comes to the matches that they've played. So you go to head to head. Now, first things first that we need to be keen about, or we need to be observant about, is the recent form. So form, the one that we're concerned about is in regards to goal scoring and goal conceding. So if you look at Torino, the last 5 matches that they've played, they've actually scored quite a number of goals. So these are club friendly, so some of them are unevenly placed strengths. So Torino was playing with a Serie B team, that's a lower league for the Italian leagues. But what we're trying to identify is, do they actually take advantage of opportunities and close out the opportunities, or finish the opportunities? And you can see majority of the matches that they've played, I'm looking at a team, irrespective of how weak the other team is, by the virtue that you can score 15 or 18 goals, it means that you have an effective striking. And if you look at in regards to conceding, even this team that they scored 18, the team was able to score a goal back, meaning that the defense for Torino is not exactly that strong. If you go to Debrecen, can look at majority of the matches that they've played, they've actually scored, but they concede as well. So it means that they have somewhat effective striking, but also their defense is lacking. Now we can take advantage of this because our assumption is that each will be able to score the other, or the stronger team will be able to score at least 2 goals against the weaker team. So we can dive into when Torino is playing at home. And if you look at this pattern, so we can just drop down and see a couple of the matches. If you look at the matches that they've played, if you look at Torino and they're at home, you can just see that the average goals are roughly 2 goals or more. So the average is about 2 goals of goals scored. But they concede as well. So out of all these matches, about 10 matches, they've conceded in 7, and the average conceding is about 1 goal. Now this is advantageous to us because the assumption is that Torino will have a capability of scoring at least 2 goals because that's the average. But because their defense is not exactly the strongest defense out there, they'll all as well concede a goal. Now we can drill into Debrecen as well. So if you look at the matches that they've played recently, so let's say just over the last 5 months, they've actually scored on majority of their away games, but they concede a lot as well. So you can see on the average, they concede about 1 to 2 goals. Now, if you take into account that Torino is a much stronger team, and this team appears to have some holes or some weak spots when it comes to defense. With this overview, because this is just basic data, you're not drilled into shots on target, average shots on goal, average shots on target, the kind of formations that they use, who's the strongest striker, what combinations do they play about with, what kind of assist combinations do they have. I mean, is there a midfielder who always feeds a certain striker, and are they present or not? Ignoring all that, because we want to make this work. We want to do light work when it comes to over 1.5 because it's quite an easy to achieve market if you take into account goals scored and goals conceded alone. Okay, and you take into account goals scored and goals conceded, and you have an average of goals scored on each team of at least 1 or more goals per game, with an equivalent of 1 or more goals per game conceded, then you're on your way to actually achieving some success on over 1.5 goals. Now, this is on FlashScore. If we move into the other tool that we use, so this is footystats.org. Okay. Now the beauty about this site now, it breaks it down so you can actually filter over 1.5. Although this is a paid site, so it's about $5 per month subscription. But the beauty about it is it gives you additional capabilities in regards to filters and in regards to drilling down to matches. So the combination that we use average total goals per match and over 1.5 goals. So we can look at another game that is going to be played today that is not related to the Europas. Okay, so for example, if you take a game that is currently ongoing, so JBK versus Kaja. So this is Finland. If we drill into now, the beauty, first things first, the beauty about Footystats is that it gives you an idea of the recent form of those teams. So it rates it from 1 to 3, 3 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. So if you just look at this, is quite an unevenly placed match, meaning that JBK have a very high chance of scoring against Kaja. Sorry. So this means that their recent form over the last maybe 5 games that they've played, they have actually scored quite a bit, as opposed to Kaja, who have not scored quite so often. But anyway, if we drill deeper into the statistics that they actually have, just take a look at this. This is average goals scored, average goals conceded. So these guys score on average 3 goals and they concede 1 goal. These guys are weak when it comes to scoring, so this is an alternate strategy. So you're not necessarily dependent on both teams having a very weak defense and a strong offense. So this team has an extremely weak defense and extremely weak offense. Okay, this team has an extremely strong offense and a moderately strong defense, although the average they concede at least a goal at a time. If you scroll down, it gives you an idea of the 5 recent matches that they've played, and if you just look at this, already this shows an indication that most likely this game is going to be over 1.5, because these guys on average concede at least 2 goals or more, or according to the computer statistics, 3.4 goals per game. Most likely than not, this match is going to be over 1.5. Other thing that you can look at which has some bearing is in regards to the recent matches that they've played. And if you look at this, you see on average, let's just take the most recent match, you have at least 2 goals in that specific game. Okay, now we can just take maybe a sneak peek and see, because this is an ongoing game for Finland, and see how they're going about it. And as you can see, it's already over 1.5. And this is a match that we had identified for the day. I'm just looking at the results now with you guys, and as you can see, it has already panned out. So always take advantage of, number one, looking at the average goals scored and average goals conceded against the two teams. So you want rather a match that has two teams that score quite a lot and concede quite a lot. So you can look at it statistically. These guys score quite a bit and they concede on almost all the games that they play. So this is on average, maybe this is 70% conceding and almost 80% scoring. The other team is a bit weaker, but the average goals that they concede is quite high. So they might not score a lot, but they concede quite a number. And then the historical data also indicates that they also, so if we just look at the last matches that they've played, they actually score and concede a lot. So the other thing that you need to take note of is be conscious or concern yourself with the last 2 seasons, because every season there are a lot of changes. So you find some teams are promoted to different leagues. You find teams that have bought or sold certain players who are critical. So recent data that you should be concerned about that is relevant is the last 2 seasons, because if you're looking at, for example, 2017, it might not be as relevant because there have been a lot of changes when it comes to these teams. What you need to look at is the last 5 matches, home and away. What's the average goal scoring and conceding? Do they score? Do they concede? Because that has an indication of the team chemistry in regards to striking, in regards to defense. If you're looking at a team that has a lot of clean sheets, meaning they concede almost 0, then it is a harder task for the other team to take advantages of opportunities in front of goal. So I hope this video has been informative. Leave us a comment on what additional videos you'd like us to make in regards to what markets have you identified that you would want help on, what markets have you been trying to use that you find challenging. So we are going to make a further in-depth video in regards to 1.5, which we'll call part 2, which should be uploaded in a week or 2. In the meantime, you could just visit us on Facebook or Twitter. So you just search us as Multibet Kenya on Facebook or on Twitter as Multibet KE, and we provide free daily tips, articles in regards to football, strategies on what you can use to take advantage or to beat the bookies, or at least to carve a small piece of the pie from the bookies. So good luck guys, and happy hunting.